Forward. The following story is not meant for children. There will be uncensored swearing, themes of self-hatred, and graphic depictions of violence. Viewer discretion is advised. The Godeater, the Crossroads, Saki, Tenki, and Miss X are all owned by Vashley and the Summer League's organizers. Quinn and associated works are owned by Wooden Sponge. Summer League Round 1. Expectations. Chapter 4. It had been an awkward chase as Quinn followed the trail of the little kitty cat while she pictured its precious fluffy buns and toe beans. Regardless of how she moved through the dark streets of the mostly empty business district, however, the cat was always just a little bit ahead of her. She'd catch a hint of tail, a pair of eyes, a tiny little meow, but never the whole picture. She needed to see the precious baby. It was her purpose in life. "Come on, little one," she said as calmly as she could. "I promise I'm not as scary as I look." With a thump, a thud, and a few well-placed footsteps, Quinn continued her journey to find the cat, not realizing as she went that she had gone further and further away from the business district. Her attention only came to her surroundings when she found herself staring at a vast, glimmering ocean which caught the reflection of the stars. With a sense of wonder, the Windraiser stepped up to the edge of what appeared to be a stonework overlook. Intricate designs of lotuses wrapped around the edges of a stone railing that seemed as though it'd easily snap if she were to touch it. A titan of steel, standing before a field of delicate flowers. "Beautiful night, isn't it?" A resonant voice, layered and alien, sounded from beside her. Quinn's head turned to see a figure in the dimness of the moonlit night. A tall figure with hair that trailed down to near the ground that ebbed and flowed almost like a continuous stream of water. A pair of eyes, brilliant and white, stared up at the clear night sky. "It is so near the sky from my own home. Yet I do not know these stars, these brethren of mine. So many faces I have yet to see." He stood next to her, but he might as well have been as distant as the moon from the way he spoke. His head turned, and as his eyes made contact with hers, she could almost see streams pouring from those little white dots that spilled down his cheeks and to the ground. "Why are you crying?" Quinn asked gently. "Because one day I will lose you as well," the man replied simply. "Would you care to keep an old fool company this evening? It can be quite lonely on these nights." As he spoke, the see-through shape of a cat leapt onto the railing. It purred and brushed against the man's hand as he put it out for the creature to sniff. "Who are you?" Quinn asked as she stepped closer to the figure in the hollow cat. It perked up at her presence and pranced happily towards her, though its face passed disappointingly through her armored hand. The man turned his head down at the cat, a pleased look on his empty face, even though the tears continued to flow unabated. "I go by many names, many titles, though I suppose for tonight you may simply call me Baladeth. Quinn. Quinn. A beautiful name." "Fitting," he replied. His eyes turned up as though they were smiling, though there was no mouth to smile. "What brings you to this place?" She was not sure if she wanted to answer. He was a stranger. This had been the first time she had ever seen the man. He seemed cold, distant as the stars. Though as she watched the empty cat brush against it around the long coat that trailed by his ankles, she relented. "I am looking for my memories." He tilted his head. "You do not know who you are." Quinn nodded. He bowed his head solemnly. Small trails of his tears dripped from his cheeks that did not exist and dropped to the ground as little balls of fire that went out. "That is a terrible fate. I am sorry. May I ask what happened?" Uncertainty, a feeling Quinn never had in her old life, gripped at the Windraiser as she looked about. His head picked back up, the stream of tears finally ceasing. "Anything you tell me I shall not share with a living soul. This you have my oath on." "They were stolen from me. I do not know when," Quinn started, slowly at first, but building up as the figure simply listened. "My only memories are of being a warrior, of fighting and killing. There are no stars in my own home, no sun, so I do not know for how long I have been fighting. I just know that my position is a place of shame." As she continued, she found it increasingly difficult to stop. She did not know for how long she had been speaking for, but gradually more about her life as a Windraiser came out of her. She didn't even know what she had been saying at some points, but memories came by, of crushing and destroying, of killing and maiming, of orders, never-ending orders, of the constant hangman's noose around her throat, of starless skies and of howling winds. As she spoke, her shame became apparent. Not the shame that made her a Windraiser, but the shame of having been one. Some of what she said may have embarrassed her, as, at one point, she felt a string of condensation trail down her cheek. Through it all, Baladeth was silent, merely content to listen to her speak. There had been no judgment in him, this strange being of smoke and black fire. She found it comforting. She spoke of regaining her autonomy, of the fox, of the journey here, and of the night of the stars with Miss X. As she spoke of these, a small smile had crept onto her face. When she had nothing left to say, she simply stopped talking and remained silent. Apparently content with all she had to say, the moon had completely left its spot in the sky. Baladeth spoke again in his strange and alien voice. "So you are free, then?" he asked. She nodded. "I am. May I ask, then, as to why you must enter this tournament? Why you must go back to fighting so soon after you have regained your own autonomy?" Quinn paused, the question catching her off guard. "Isn't it obvious? I have no idea who I am. I have no idea what I've done, who I was, what I did to deserve my shame." Baladeth nodded. "It is a horrible fate that has befallen you. That is true. Your life has been stolen away. But do you not have it again? Will your life cease if you do not find that answer in a show tournament?" She felt her hands clench and her teeth grind as she stared at this figure. It felt like steam had been trapped in her head once again. "What would you know of my fate?" she asked, her temper barely contained beneath the surface of a frozen face. "How can you tell me to stop when the answers I seek are right in front of me?" There was a moment of consideration as the figure stared silently at the Windraiser. He bowed his head in shame. "I used to be very cruel, Quinn," he started, the steam slipping away from her head as he spoke. "Not without reason, though those reasons are gone with time. I led armies. I killed people. Many of them, in fact. I asked few questions as to why I should, for I knew the cause I was on had been righteous. For many had been cruel to me, led armies against me, had taken all that I loved. I was a different man, Quinn. A man that stood on a mountain of corpses. I had spent so long on that battlefield I had long since forgotten the child that once looked upon the stars and saw hope." He turned his head back to the sea to stare at the ocean, at the twinkling gems in the water. "None of it brought me closer to who I was, but what I had done and the experiences of my own life had long since changed the little boy that simply wanted to live his life. But I could move on to find a person that was better than who I had been." Baladeth turned his head, quiet shame still on his face. The stars of his eyes pierced through the lens set between Quinn's eyes. "But that was a journey that could only start when I put down my weapons and unmade the person my enemies had made me into. I am unsure of how to do that," Quinn muttered. "I'll let you know when I figure it out myself," Baladeth said teasingly. She smiled, a fleeting thing that slipped as quickly as it came. "Even so, I cannot just leave the tournament. My life is something that I must know about, and I can't just abandon this opportunity." "I know," Baladeth replied mournfully. He bowed his head once more and turned to leave as the first few rays of sunlight began to crest the horizon. With each step he slowly began to disappear. "But perhaps when this is over, when you find some time to yourself, you can find the time to live your life. You have been given a very special gift, Quinn. It would be a shame if it were squandered on wishful thinking." As he disappeared from sight, the cat followed, fading away with the rising sun. Quinn sighed, a weight feeling like it had been lifted from her shoulders. She turned her head to where she could see the arena where her fate would lie. Perhaps just a few more swings of her hammer, and then she could set it down for good. This was the moment that I wanted so badly to write for. This was my favorite chapter in all of this. You won't fight me on this! So the upload schedule might get a little weird. I'm going to be gone soon-ish. I do have enough videos for the week. I gotta see if I can knuckle down and get some things recorded and edited. Just giving y'all a fair warning, to the 4 of you still watching. I love you all. And, take care of yourselves, Gooby.